All right, today we're looking at something different. A new source has just emerged and, well, to say it's brief would be a massive understatement. But we're about to give it the full analytical treatment it demands.
So here it is. This is the whole thing. Seriously, no intro, no footnotes, no explanation. Just this. We wanted you to see it exactly as it was found. Raw, unedited. Just kind of let that sink in for a second.
Okay, so this is where our investigation kicks off. You know, whenever we're faced with new kind of cryptic data like this, the first thing we have to do is break it down. We got to understand its most basic parts before we can even think about what it all means. And that leads us to the big question, the one driving this whole thing, the central mystery. It looks so simple, right? But as you're about to see, the answer is anything but. What is he? To even begin to answer that, we've got to shift into a full-on forensic analysis. We're going to look at this source from every single angle. I mean, leave no stone unturned. This is where the real work begins.
So our first pass, just a basic definition, tells us that High-E is, well, it's a new source. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's completely circular, right? And you're not wrong. But hey, it's a start. It at least establishes what we're studying, even if it doesn't really tell us much about it.
And if we try to pull some direct quotes to figure out what the intent was, well, this is all we get. The source is literally just quoting itself. It's a completely self-contained single piece of information. Wild.
Okay, let's look at the numbers. A quick letter frequency analysis actually shows something pretty interesting. We've got one H, one I, but look at that. Two Ys. Why the repeat? Why so much emphasis on Y? Is that a pattern? Maybe a code? Right now, all we can do is just make a note of it.
Structurally, it's super simple. We're looking at just 4 letters, 1 syllable. There's a single vowel, the I, kind of sandwiched between consonants. And there it is again, that repeated E. The whole thing is incredibly dense, almost efficient. But what it's for, still a total mystery.
So, after all that, where are we? After breaking it down, counting the letters, looking at the structure, we're basically staring into an information void. We've taken the data apart piece by piece, but we are no closer to understanding it. We've officially hit the wall of what the source itself can tell us.
Which of course brings us right back to that fundamental question. What does it mean?
What's it for?
And maybe the biggest question of all, where on earth did it come from?
And the answer is, the source doesn't tell us. We have completely exhausted our analysis. The data, all by itself, is a dead end. But hang on, this isn't actually a failure. It's a revelation, because it forces us to stop looking at the data and to start asking a much bigger question. Where does meaning actually come from in the first place? In this is where it all clicks. Look, on the one hand, you've just got the raw information, he. It means nothing, right? It's just a word. But then, look what happens when we add one tiny piece of context, a study on migratory bird patterns. All of a sudden, bam, it's not just a word anymore. It has purpose. It's a title, a subject. The letters on the screen didn't change, but its meaning completely transformed. So here's the key takeaway. The big lesson from our deep dive into the source called he is this. A source's meaning comes almost entirely from its context. Without knowing the who, what, where, when, and why around a piece of information, that information is basically just noise. And that's really the challenge for all of us, isn't it? I mean, we are swimming in a sea of data, headlines, and little isolated facts every single day. So the question we should always be asking is this. How much of what we see is just information, and how much of it is actual meaning? How much of it is just a word, without a story?